We read in Parshat Vaera about the process of the redemption of the Jewish people from Egypt as Moshe spends all this time negotiating with Pharaoh to get our freedom. And the thing you have to ask yourself is, why such a long process? Why does Moshe have to go through all these negotiations with Pharaoh? If his purpose was to get the Jews out of Egypt, why couldn't God bring one simple miracle and let us all out? Why so much back and forth convincing Pharaoh? Then Pharaoh changes his mind, he goes back to Pharaoh. Why the long process? Secondly, why the deception? Why is it that Moshe, who was concerned that Pharaoh wouldn't let us out, comes up with this plan with God to trick Pharaoh and to say, oh no, we're not leaving, we're not freeing all your slaves, we're just bringing the Jews out into the wilderness to bring a korban. Why do they have to trick Pharaoh? And the third question is, why the competition with the Chartumei Mitzrayim? Why the magic competition, constantly trying to outdo each other? What was the purpose of this whole process? And the answer, I think, is that this story is not just about getting the Jews out of Mitzrayim. It's about teaching Egypt and the world who God is and why and how He is present in our world. Pharaoh begins by saying, Mi Hashem, who is this God? I don't know this God. And ultimately, through this long process, he starts to realize who God is. And ultimately, next week's Parshat begins, Bo el Paro. God says to Moshe, come to Pharaoh, as if to say, I am with Pharaoh, because Pharaoh knows who I am. This whole process was to teach Mitzrayim and the world who God was. The reason why Moshe said we're leaving to bring a korban was because our freedom was not just about freedom from slavery, but we were leaving for the purpose of serving God and bringing korbanos to God. And the competition with the Chartumim was for the purpose of showing Egypt that there's only one God and not these other gods that you worship. For the Jews at the time of Mitzrayim, the redemption was about freedom from slavery. But for the Egyptians of that time, and for people of all time, it's about teaching us that God is present in our world, He is involved in our lives, He is guiding the history of the Jewish people, and indeed the history of the entire world.